Hi everyone, I'm Isabel and I'll be doing most of the breads and baking for kids who love to cook. I have two brothers and I cook for them all the time. They love pizza, so I decided, why not make them pizza? Today I'm going to learn how to make pizza from the guy who knows everything about pizza, our friend Scott Wiener. So Scott, you don't look Italian.
No, I'm not Italian, but I've grown up in the New York area my whole life, so I've always been around great pizza.
And you go to Italy all the time to study about pizza. How much pizza do you eat every day?
I eat a lot of pizza, to be quite honest, but on this last trip to Italy, I ended up eating pizza at least twice a day, just because there are so many amazing places in Italy and you have to eat them all.
So Scott is going to show us how to make a foolproof pizza recipe that kids can easily make at home. We have our mise en place here, and for the pizza dough, we'll be needing 595 grams of all-purpose flour. This is unbleached flour. 393 grams of tap water at room temperature.
Yeah, that's equal to about 1 3/4 cups.
18 grams of fine salt and 6 grams of dry yeast.
Dry yeast is in your grocery store right next to the flour. So really everything is available, and that's all you need to make pizza dough.
It's only 4 ingredients, so simple.
Yeah, frustratingly simple. It makes you wonder, why does anybody pick up the telephone to place an order?
So let's make pizza dough.
Yes. We need this bowl to mix all of our ingredients together. So we start off with, of course, our flour, which is the largest component. And then all we're doing right now is adding our other dry ingredients. So we have our yeast, of course.
Okay.
And we have our salt. Any old salt will do. I'm just gonna take a fork just to mix this up.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that all the yeast and all the salt is evenly distributed throughout the flour. Only one ingredient left to add, which is our tap water, room temperature tap water. You don't have to do it real slowly, you can just dump it all in there.
Okay.
And now we've got to incorporate all the ingredients. So since I don't want to get dough stuck to my hands quite yet, I'm using my fork. And I'm just mixing it together so that all these ingredients incorporate. And you'll see in just a couple of seconds, see it all starts to stick together. And as it reaches a point where everything starts to be incorporated, that's when my fork is finished. And of course I've washed my hands.
Of course.
And I'm gonna just go for it with my hands, okay? I'm just reaching in here, and all I'm doing is incorporating all of the ingredients. The yeast is starting to come to life, and it's gonna start eating all the sugars that are in the flour, and fermentation is going to happen, which is where we get our flavor. Fermentation is our flavor factory. It's when the yeast is eating all these sugars and producing alcohols and gases, and that's why dough rises. So now all I'm doing is scooping all these ingredients from the side, and really this is gonna take about 1 more minute of just mashing my hand into it. I mean, take a look. A couple of minutes ago, this was just a whole bunch of nothing. Now all I'm doing is smushing it together. There should be no spots that are totally dry. All right, great. So now that all the ingredients have been incorporated, we're just gonna sit back and let this sit for about a half an hour. So all we need to do is cover this up with a piece of plastic wrap.
I'm way ahead of you.
Look at this. You are a pro. Unbelievable. So we have to make sure this gets a nice tight seal. Sometimes what I like to do is, if I see it's not clinging enough, then I like to run my finger under a little bit of water, and then and after I do that, the plastic will really cling. All right, let's take a break.
So it's been 30 minutes.
Yeah, that means we're ready to knead the dough. So the first thing we have to do is flour our dough. And do me a favor, and if you could throw some flour on our surface over here. This way the dough won't stick. And we're just using the exact same flour that we used to actually make the dough. So it's all gonna work together nice and happy. See how this is all coming out of this bowl real nice?
Yeah.
Since it's been sitting in there for a half hour, it's been hydrating. Now to knead the dough, it's really simple. Why don't you go ahead and feel this dough? All we do is we take it and we stretch it up, bring it down, and then I use the palm of my hand with some flour on it to sort of push the dough together. Now we're just incorporating all the ingredients even more, and we're strengthening it. So as I do this, it's gonna get stronger, and all the gluten is going to form. And the gluten is sort of kind of an elastic web that holds the whole thing together. That flour, when it hits water, forms all these glutens. So I'm gonna keep doing this, and whenever you see that the flour starts to disappear, just throw a little bit more flour on there. Nice. You sure you haven't made pizza before?
Never, but I bake a lot.
Well, it shows, there you go. We are approaching the end here. we're pretty much done. You want to do a quick little poke test for me?
Sure.
Boom, bounces right back.
It's ready.
Now we're ready to split this into 4 even pieces, and we're gonna store it in some containers that I've brought along. And all we really have to do is put a little bit of olive oil in each one of these and kind of spread it around, and that's gonna make it so that the dough doesn't stick to the container. So I'm gonna put a little drop of olive oil in each of these, and if you can do me a favor and spread it around with your finger. Just dig your finger right in there and just spread it all the way around. And as you do that, I'm gonna split this up into 4 pieces. So now we've got these 4 pieces, and now we're just gonna form these into a smooth, each one will be a smooth texture, so that way it'll rise nice and even. And now the final bit is I'm gonna pick it up in the air and just fold it back into itself. So if you remember what it looked like before we let it sit for 30 minutes, it looked really rough, right? And now, as I finish this piece, I smooth it out and make sure there are no ruffles. It's a piece of dough.
I want to do one.
Sure, go ahead and grab that last guy. And all you have to do is pick it up in your hands and fold it back. Yeah, just like that. You've got it just the right way. And now you're ready to just put your right hand in a ring like this, and with the dough underneath. And then all you're doing is pushing that dough through your hand. And you can open up that opening in your hand between your fingers. Put it between your hands like this, like you kind of do like a claw action. Push it with your left hand up. There you go, that's perfect. Keep on pushing it through. Great, now just seal up that seam and put it seam side down into there. Done, perfect, you did it. Now we are set to go. We just have to put the cap on here. And this dough will be ready to go tomorrow, okay? You can actually let it sit in your refrigerator for up to 5 days, and it'll be good to go. So you can always be ready for a pizza party. You can freeze it, but when you thaw it out, just make sure it's in your refrigerator for a few hours so that the inside doesn't stay really icy cold.
How long can you keep it in the freezer for?
You can keep it in the freezer for months. You'll always be ready for a pizza party, but in the refrigerator, it's maybe 4 or 5 days.
Oh.
So since this won't be ready until tomorrow, I brought some dough along that I made yesterday so we could start our own pizza party now instead of waiting a whole day.
Cool, because Samara, Gabriella, and Abby are coming over for a pizza party.
Perfect, great. I hope I brought enough dough. So now that we're ready to make pizza, the first step is preheating the oven. And I have a pizza stone because this is a great surface to bake pizza on. It makes your crust really crispy and crunchy, and I know you like thin, crispy, crunchy crust. So that's why we have a pizza stone. But before we turn the oven on, we set the stone in the center rack, and then we adjust our oven to 500 degrees. If your oven doesn't reach 500 degrees, just set it to whatever is the maximum temperature. After about an hour of preheating, we will be ready to make that pizza. So while we're waiting for the oven and the stone, we can get started on our toppings. So first things first, I know you're a cheese fan, so we're gonna hit the cheese first. We're gonna be using fresh mozzarella today. Are you a fresh mozzarella fan?
I love fresh mozzarella.
Great, perfect. So you don't mind being a guinea pig to taste the mozzarella?
No.
Okay, try this.
Thank you.
See how it tastes. And I'm gonna slice some up.
Great.
Is it good?
Amazing.
I'm gonna slice this because it's gonna dry out a little bit. All right, it is game time now. We are ready to do the dough. This is like the big moment. So I'm gonna grab this out of the bowl, and this is the dough that I had made yesterday. Do me a favor and flour up this surface like you did before. Yeah, a whole bunch of flour all over the place. Even more, even more. Bring it. Don't hold back. Don't be afraid. Go, wow, too much. It's okay, because we're gonna use all this flour, okay? So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna start with just a little flour that I'm gonna sprinkle on top. And this is, once again, so my hands don't stick. And all we need to do is form this into a circle, or whatever shape you like your pizza. Okay. We'll be doing a circle today. So first thing is taking the edges of the finger and pressing straight down. Now all I'm doing is really lightly with my fingers, taking all the gas that's inside this dough, and I'm basically pushing the dough straight down so that the gas migrates to the outside.
Does that make the crust?
Exactly. See how the crust is already popping up? That's it. But notice this, while I'm pushing it out, I'm gonna stay away from the center. Yeah, that part's okay. But I'm gonna stay away from the center, because if you touch the center too much, then when you start to stretch it in the air with your hands, the center gets too thin.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're gonna be real careful with this, and I'm always gonna make sure that I have enough flour below. And I'm always pressing just straight down. I'm never really stretching too much.
Look at all these bubbles.
Yeah, do you like pizza bubbles?
Yeah.
I love pizza bubbles, but I don't like them when they're in the middle of the pizza. I like them
I love
when
them
they're out
when they're
there.
in the middle of the pizza.
Okay, so if we get a slice that has a bubble in the middle, it's yours. So at this point, we're ready to really start stretching, which means pulling it very slightly and rotating a little bit. And I'm still trying not to really touch the outside too much. So if I touch the outside, then we won't get those really high fluffy crusts on the end. And once it's about this big, this is the really fun part. This is when you kind of pick it up with your knuckles. And I'm not really stretching it too much. I'm really letting gravity do all the work. So you see, all I'm doing is holding it like this and letting gravity pull it down. Okay, great. You know what? We're almost ready. Do me a favor and grab that peel. It's that wooden panel. Yeah, you put it right there, and you can put some flour all over the top and just kind of rub it right into it. Perfect. And make sure there's not too much so you can whisk away those big globs. But this is ready to go. Okay? I'm gonna slip this down right on top, and then it comes your favorite part, which is the cheese. Why don't you go ahead and grab some cheese right off that pile, and you can just rip the cheese in half, and then plop it down wherever you want to eat some cheese. Done.
Okay.
Because you'll see when this melts down, we're gonna have beautiful puddles. In fact, I think you've nailed it right there. And we're ready for the sauce. The sauce is really easy. All we're gonna do is smear it.
Why does the sauce come after the cheese?
Because the cheese sort of forms a little barrier between the sauce and the crust. So this way the cheese sticks to the crust. Now when I'm scooping out all this sauce, I'm trying to avoid the liquidy puddles so that we're gonna get really chunky stuff, okay? This is ready. The only thing we have to do is do a little test. It's called the shimmy shake, like this. Done. If the pizza moves around, then we'll have no problem putting it in the oven. If the pizza starts to stick, then if you try to put it into the oven, it's gonna get stuck half on the pizza stone, half on the peel. It's a mess, and then you have to call and order pizza yourself, which is, again, embarrassing. So let's get this thing in the oven, and then 6 minutes later, we'll be eating. Will you be hungry?
Not the basil.
Oh, I'm glad you pointed that out. We're actually gonna hold off on the basil until after it comes out of the oven.
Oh.
If we put the basil on right now, it's gonna shrivel up and dry out. So we'll wait till the pizza comes out of the oven, this way we have fresh basil. Ready to put this thing in?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. It's been about 5.5 minutes. We're ready for this pizza to come out of the oven, okay? That's where I'm going, so watch out, be careful. All right, take a deep breath. Okay, here goes. Ah, it looks awesome. Oh my goodness. All right, so this is it. This is our margarita pizza. That's it. Now, all we have to do to finish it off is hit it with a little bit of this basil. Yes. Don't be too careful with it, you know. Wherever it lands, that's where it lands. And then while it's still hot, we're gonna hit it with just a swirl of extra virgin olive oil, and it's done. The margarita pizza that you just made in a home oven.
This is a great looking pizza.
Yeah, now we are ready to eat it. We just have to make sure that you do not burn the roof of your mouth. So I brought along my little thermometer. It's an infrared thermometer, so we can tell the temperature on the surface of the cheese. And right now I'm getting 160 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect because my mouth burns at 175, so I think we are in the clear, okay? So let's cut this up and we'll be ready to rock.
Wait, Scott, why is this called a margarita pizza?
Oh, that's a good question. It's actually named after Queen Margherita, who was the Queen of Italy in the late 1800s. And when she came to Naples to visit, Naples is the town that really invented pizza. And when they named the pizza after her, it sort of became very popular throughout Italy. So we have this pizza that's still named for the Queen because she visited Naples in 1889. So we are here to eat it today.
Thank you so much, Scott, for teaching me how to make pizza.
My pleasure.
Kids, try this at home. There's nothing like a homemade pizza.